Hello and welcome everyone to the Red Hammer Studios podcast episode 1, where we're going to talk a little bit about what we just released in our current version, which is 0.38. We're going to talk about some new systems, and as well we're going to talk about a little bit what you can expect from future updates. And here with me are some other RHS developers, and we'll start with the leader of RHS himself, Soul Assassin, so go ahead.
Hello everybody, my name is Alex and I'm primarily a 3D modeler and texturer for RHS.
Thank you very much. Bakerman.
Hello guys, Bakerman here. I mainly do config stuff and a bit of scripting.
Excellent. Ballistic.
Hey everybody, Ballistic here. I basically just get the pleasure of playing with everything before everybody else. And testing.
Nice. And Gertie.
Hi, I'm Gertie, and I'm primarily a 3D artist and texture artist, I suppose.
Excellent. And I'm Richards, and I'm also one of the 3D artists who primarily does stuff for the U.S. Forces side. So right now we're just going to get right into some of the new content that was in RHS 0.38. And those who are responsible for it will talk just a little bit about everything. So the T90 was included for the first time in the mod. Gertie, how long did this model take you guys, and was it based off anything?
Oh, I'd really throw it to Alex. I just did a couple parts on it.
Right on.
But I mean, it grew fairly quickly out of the T72B, right?
Yeah, indeed. So the primary goal is to move towards the T90A model, which is the primary tank of the Russian armed forces. And let's say along the way, it was a good chance to build all the parts that it needs and put them on a T72B tank, which would give us a fairly accurate T90 early model. So that's basically the, let's say, the steps in the plan. And Gertie had a touch in there. Petter 005 did a lot of the turret things, and then it was completed and textured by myself.
Excellent. And in addition, for the Russian forces, the BMP-3 was actually finished in this release. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I mean, for a couple of patches now, I believe we had a untextured version in. I think the initial release it was like way too short and got a huge model makeover, and then it recently just got textured and good to go.
Excellent. For the U.S. forces, the M249 squad automatic weapon was not added. It was already in the game. However, the model was actually the Arma 2 one. It was a port, and now we've actually completely made our own model and new variants of that weapon. In addition, the M240, which is the support machine gun, again an Arma 2 model, was also completely redone from scratch by Gertie, right? You worked on that a bit, or the whole thing, I think?
No, actually, we borrowed the, I guess the FN Mag base model from the Swedish mod team.
Right.
And then we converted it to a G and then to a 240B.
Nice.
And we kind of got really lucky with Toady helping us on the N249 as well, that he kind of really just opened up the source files to us and let us kind of assemble our own variants for release.
Nice. And finally, for the U.S. forces, the Abrams actually got updated a little bit. Gertie, do you want to tell us quickly about what happened to that?
Yeah, so I mean, it was in dire need of a retexture and just a makeover, so got totally retextured. All of the M1A1 AIMs got replaced by the newer M1A1 SAs as they were configured in the later years of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then additionally, we added the new variant of the Tusk 2, which is now like covered in ARAT2, I guess, ceramic plates.
Yeah, and special thanks there for to Snorri, I guess, to coming on board and doing a really good job on weathering these guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, I can do it without him.
All that content we just talked about, you can find in the new 0.38 release, which you can get on a number of sources, definitely on Armaholic. We also have download links on our website at www.rhsmods.org. Alright, the next thing we want to talk about is, which we don't usually do, but we're going to hopefully expand into regular episodes of this podcast, is some content that you can expect, hopefully, we never promise anything, in the next release, which is 0.39. Gertie, I think you've been working on a vehicle that some are even fanatical over. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've kind of tasked myself with improving the M113A3 and basically expanding it into a more useful, armored personnel carrier. I'm taking advantage of it, so I'm kind of testing out some things that we may see on the Striker in the far future, like fire from or FFV hatches and stuff like that, as well as just adding hopefully a lot, a sort of useful variants of the vehicle, so it's not just a one-off, throwaway light armor piece of shit.
Awesome. And how's your progress going on that? I think you've made a brand new model from scratch. It's almost done, isn't it?
Yeah, it's as of this podcast, it is sort of injected right now. The actual model's being done. I am currently working on the medical evacuation variant, as well as the ACAV shields that will go around 240 mounts on the rear of the vehicle.
Awesome. Another thing we're working on that you can talk about while you're already talking is some infantry enhancements. Do you want to detail a little bit what that's about and what kind of content that's going to bring?
Yeah, so I mean, we're sort of a smallish team, right? We have to kind of juggle our focus around on different, different aspects of the gameplay experience we want. So for this patch, we really wanted to nail down a lot of infantry equipment that, well, it was totally absent and needed to be improved. So, I think the biggest thing here is probably the U.S. Marine Corps, getting them some more, some vests with pouches, for example, maybe an additional vest, cleaning up stuff that, has been sitting there that hasn't really been finished, as well as just, improving our current army stuff. But it also applies to the, the Russian forces. So I hope to bring maybe a couple more weapons to the Russian forces, and maybe some infantry gear as well.
Awesome.
No promises though.
Definitely.
Then never.
And one last thing that actually I'm working on that I'll talk about that'll hopefully be in 0.39, depending on how quickly we can get it textured and good to go, is the Hemmet. So right in the initial release of the mod, you actually saw a Hemmet, which was the M977A2 and the M978A2, which are very old vehicles, which generally haven't been used for a very long time, simply because they were built really under the Reagan administration and are quite outdated now. So over the past month or so, I've been actually working to create an updated model for the Hemmet A4 variant, which is the current modern air ride suspension equipped vehicle. With that, not only will we be introducing the same variants that we had in the A2, so the cargo variant, a fueler, and maybe some different cargo ones as well, but we'll be including the B-kit model, which has an armored cab and might mount various crew-served weapons. We'll also be introducing the palletized load system, or LHS variant, which is able to use modular systems to carry different loads based on one truck. Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about what the Russian side might have coming in the future, if you want to spoil a little bit?
Yeah, we let's say we haven't planned out the next patch completely yet, but from my side, what I'm going to be focusing on is trying to get the T98 turret done, and this is particularly interesting because I want to try some, let's say, scanning techniques using photogrammetry for the first time to see whether I can extract data from some plastic models. And for the rest, I might be able to fit in some enhancements on support vehicles like the GAS 66 Medical 10 truck and some more details on the radio truck. And I also know that Bakerman's been working on some effect enhancements, so maybe he can say a few words about that.
I think he might be gone.
Yep, that's fair enough. Looks like he's away at the moment. Right. So that's some of the stuff that you can look forward to in our next release. Obviously, we never promise anything. Things can always get delayed and break. And again, no one's really working full time at this. Obviously, we all have other commitments in life, so certainly things can get delayed. But hopefully, a lot of that content is actually pretty far along. So hopefully, a good amount of that should make it into 0.39. The last thing we want to do here on the podcast is we're just going to answer a few questions that we see posted on our Facebook page, which you can find at if you just search Red Hammer Studios on Facebook. Is the easiest way to find that, and we detail some work in progress images and post updates generally about the mod there and on our BI forums topic. We're just going to address a few questions here that we get asked a lot. And we're going to address them right now. Alright, so the first question is one that comes from pretty much everyone on the internet, and it always goes by the same format as will you make, and then something. And really, I'll toss this over to everyone else quickly, but what I'll say is, if you send us something on Facebook or our forum and you say, will you make, and then you link a picture of a Lav 3 or something, that's actually a bad example. A Lav 25 or a striker. A striker, that's one that always gets asked. Will you make a striker? And then you link a photo. Trust me, guys, I know you want it made, but as I said, we're not all working full time. This stuff takes hours and hours of time, making the model, texturing it, baking the textures. It's incredible amount of work because generally we don't try and port anything unless we know we really can't realistically make it, like that A10 or what have you. But for that reason, yes, we all know what a striker is. You don't need to link us a photo. And the answer for most things in either the Russian or the U.S. Army that's not Special Forces gear, because we're not really focusing on that, is yes, eventually we will make it. But really what it comes down to is time and who can do it. And we have a lot of priorities necessarily before that. So the answer is, will you make something? If it's something they use that isn't SF gear, the answer is yes, but not immediately. Does anyone want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do have a massive backlog of things that we are already in process of doing, and these things need to be finished because it will be impossible to move on. And in general, we're very much interested in the military development, so we do know pretty much everything except for maybe some exotic examples, and all these things are all on our list. So indeed, as Richard said, we want to get to them, but it will just take time.
Yeah, beauty. Anyone else got anything to add on that, or should we move on? Okay, cool. Gertie, this will be one a little bit for you. So why did you remove the Mark 18 and the M4 Block 2s?
Okay, so there are two main thoughts that I had when making this decision to remove it. So initially when we included these weapons, there were more or less experiments to try to incorporate Aardvark DB's like rails that he made for, I think it was Tig's rifle? Don't quote me on that. But we just wanted to carry those and just see if they would, function on our M4 models. And they did, and I just kind of left them in as a curiosity that, I didn't actually think that anyone would really care for, because we didn't have the like scopes and SF equipment to support it. So when I made a decision to remove it, it was mainly based on I didn't really think the model needed some work. I mean, it needed new sights, and probably an updated rail normal, and it didn't really have any place in our our focus, because we aren't doing special forces. We are again focused on like mainline units. So
Awesome. Yeah. So there you go. That's mainly because they weren't really finished. And eventually, yes, we will build SF things. The problem with that is it's not a very good use of our time at the moment when we lack so much critical mass-produced vehicles and weapons and personal equipment and such. Really building these very niche things, especially the SF, who have tons of very specific vehicles, is really not a good use of our time in the early stage of the mod. All right.
And they're
Yep.
not really gone. I mean, you can still
Well,
access them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Like
somebody already released, let's say, an add-on for the mod that unlocks them. So we're not really against people doing this. So just download it if you really want them.
Exactly. And the final question, which I'm forgetting, Gertie, can you remind me what the final question was? Yes.
Oh.
Go ahead.
We receive messages all the time asking us if we were going to put pouches on the USMC SPC vests, and I assure you that yes, we are working on pouches, but our current goal with the vests in general, both the SPC, the MPC vest, and as well as the SPCS for the Army and the IOTV, we're kind of moving broadly across all of these vests and kind of having like a united texture sheet, let's say, for the pouches that will be used on all of them, and of course camelbacks and stuff like that again will be used on all of them. So yeah, so they will receive pouches.
Awesome. So there you have it. Those were just 4 pretty commonly asked questions. Definitely still send questions in on Facebook, and we'll try and answer them best I can. But remember, please don't send requests. We already discussed that. So yeah, everyone, that's our first look into the a little bit of the development of what you can find right now in 0.38. If you go to rhsmods.org, that's our website, or go on Armaholic and find the mod or other venues. So thanks for watching, guys, and that's all for now.